Well, Joe, let's introduce our guest and let's get into this thing, my man.
Well, we have our guests today are two of my favorite people, Cindy and Lois. These guys are from Houston, Texas, and they have an amazing story to tell about, kind of their life up to being a landlord, or up to what they did before they became the bank, or when they became the bank. Lois, Cindy, come on, and let's talk here for a little while.
Hi, guys. How are you?
We're great.
Lois Meyer and Cindy Sterling. Hey, guys.
Great to be here.
Yeah. So I guess, Lois, you're in. No, Cindy's in California, right?
No, Lois is in California.
Lois is in California. Wow, I'm so confused. In California, you're helping mom right now.
I am.
So, yes. Well, good. That's a good thing, and that's a good thing that you have the time and the, you're the bank, so now you have the time to go off and do things like that instead of, as the story you're going to tell, strapping on the tool belt on the weekends, right?
Sure. Plus, I can take care of our note business from anywhere, so it makes it great.
That's a great point, because a lot of people, particularly after the virus, look at, what moving away or moving out or just repositioning, what would that look like? And for us, it's not even a speed bump, right?
Exactly. It's seamless. You have your computer and internet and you're ready to go.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about when we first met, because I remember you guys came to a class that we did. Pretty big. Was a pretty big class, right?
It was. Very big in Houston.
And so I want to just sort of go back. I'm always curious, and I think the audience is always curious, like, what do you think when you sit down? What's in your mind? Where did you think you were going?
I don't think we really knew. I think we are a lot of people that you perceive you understand notes because you've got a mortgage of your own.
Yeah.
But you don't really understand the business of being the bank. You understand the ties of the bank, the anchor of having a mortgage note. But I think we probably, like a lot of people, thought there was a lot more hands into the home than there actually is. And we've been able to do everything we wanted to achieve and more. But we couldn't have done it without actually having come to the class, because I think we would have been lost, quite frankly.
Yeah, we don't know what we don't know until we learn it, right?
Well, it's the community, right? I think it's, Eddie, to give you all the credit in the world is wonderful, but it's the community of the people in NoteSchool. It's the people that you meet and you can talk to offline, and your staff. It isn't just about all of the assets that you provide us. It's far more than that. And that's what I think was the biggest surprise for me, is I figured it would be a lot of leaning heavily on you and trying to absorb everything. But the vast resources were what allowed us to accelerate as fast as we did, because we joined last January, February, I don't recall now. We never missed a class or anything, right, Lois, for 4 months. And we clicked by on our first set of notes. I think it was Memorial Weekend last year. And we have just pedal to the floor the whole last 11 months of the year. So.
Right.
Yeah, and you guys have bought a lot of assets. You bought a lot of assets in two categories. You bought some assets because you repositioned some money.
Correct.
You were traditional landlords, am I right?
Absolutely.
For how long?
Go ahead, Lois. You've been doing
yeah. I think I've kind of been in and out of the landlord business for, I don't know, 25 years or so, and with varying degrees of success, but always a lot of pain, and not that much money. But I just kept thinking, well, if I did it better. And so then 10 years ago, when Cindy and I met, we needed to really ramp our retirement up. Neither of us have come from companies that have pensions. And so and we have a very expensive travel habit. So we needed to really see what we could do to earn more money and less time involved. And so when we looked at this, it just seemed to make sense. We liked the real estate aspect, but not the landlording aspect. And so we are rapidly right now moving our rental portfolio on into the market to sell. We have 6 projects currently in various forms of sales. And we're going to take all of that and put it into notes. And it's a great plan. We are thrilled to death with it.
Hey guys, let me ask you a question. You told me that when you guys first got together, you guys would travel every weekend, but you weren't packing your suitcases, were you? You were packing. What were you doing? You a tool belt, and then what were you doing?
We designer tool belts. We were all into our. In fact, we did that for 5 years. Nights and weekends, we were white collar workers during the week. Nights and weekends, we strapped on the tool belt. Sometimes working 16 hours a day, and we about killed ourselves for about 5 years. And we just kept thinking, okay, if we do this long enough, someday we'll sell the property and make a lot on selling the property. And then I don't know how else to say it other than it was just sheer luck that Lois's nephew introduced us to NoteSchool, because he's a handyman and he had met a guy that was a member of NoteSchool.
Wow.
And so I guess if I could say anything to all of us out there that are in NoteSchool, don't hide the story, because if it hadn't been a conversation that Brandon had with this guy, we would have never known about it. Right. And if we had never known about it, we wouldn't be sitting here talking to you about trying to convince other people there's a better way, and there's a better group of people to help you get there. Yeah.
You know, you guys have heard me tell stories about my father-in-law got me started in the business in 1980. And my father-in-law was a fireman, and he had lots of rentals. And so he, like you guys, he found notes later in his life, not earlier in his life. And of course, as you guys know, I really am a cowboy and grew up in in that environment. And when I met him, I was riding horses for money. I mean, I was training horses, and I was also working as a horse inspector. But I was sort of on the line of doing things that was more manual. And he said, son, you can make a lot more money with a pencil than you can with a hammer, and you'll never make a lot of money wiping sweat. Now, that doesn't mean you can't make any money, but what it means is that you transition. It's great that you did what you did, but if you had to go do that for another 5 years, how would you have felt about that?
But no.
We could have. I mean, we were in our 50s when we were doing that, and to be transparent, we're in our 60s, and it's like, we don't want to do it in our 60s, and we clearly can't be doing it in our 70s. And we want to be on the road traveling, so that takes passive income.
So could you have made that transition in your 20s?
Oh yeah, and would we ever have? I mean, I think if we would be we'd be more like your kids, right? They have a different view of working and retirement.
Yeah. But we've worked as hard as we can the last few months to make up for that lost time.
Joe, you know these ladies' story. It may be close to as good as they do. I want to make sure that you catch some magic here, because they really have a great story, and you've tracked this closely.
Yeah. And that's what I said, so you guys, you did what you knew you should do, right? You came in, you joined NoteSchool in January or February of last year. And I'm thinking it was January, but I remember that class in Houston. And then you guys immersed yourself, right, in all of the learning that we have. You were on DLab calls. You didn't miss a single one, right?
We still don't.
Don't.
You're right. You don't. I see you on here every week, right? I give you thumbs up. And then by less than a year ago, by the end of May of 2020, in the middle of the pandemic,
Right.
You guys pulled the trigger and started buying notes, right? And so
Correct.
tell us about that, and that feeling that you had when you press that purchase button. But then you've bought over 30 notes, right? In less than a year.
Yes. Yeah. So the first time we hit the buy button, it was exciting because we'd been doing the research and was like, okay. And then it was like, okay, what do we have to do now? It was like, whoa.
It was almost a panic. Like we hit the buy and we got so excited, and then we calmed down and we were like, we don't know what to do next. Like, what do we do next? And so we just thought, okay, the next 10 days, we have to figure this out. And we just started watching videos again, reading things and
asking questions.
Yeah. The first grouping, I think we bought 4 or 5. It was scary. It was exciting, but then we got scared, and then we got through it. And then Lois is already retired. I'm still working, but I think then the next Lois, month or so, you worked through getting the paperwork, getting everything recorded. What do we need to do? I mean, that was all. But thank goodness we had a resource to go to, because that's what got us through that.
Sure. Without the people in your office, I mean, I'm sure they were like, oh, great. Here's Lois again asking another question, but they were great. They walked us through things. They didn't get frustrated with us or upset that, I was asking the same question for the 5th time trying to understand it. So, but yeah, and we're constantly learning, which is something that we really both like. And so
then we went from that group. That was just cash in pocket, to be honest with you, that we had. And then the next group that we bought, we actually dived into our self-directed IRAs. So then every time we bought, it seems like we've opened another can of worms we didn't understand. and that was the next thing that we did then. And by summertime, we bought some out of our self-directed.
But then you did something else really crazy, guys. During the middle of a pandemic, you have developed 8 passive investors over the past 11 months, right? As well, right? Tell us about that.
So we started talking to people and just really kind of worked on our story on, how this can help other people. And so we started talking. We had one of our investors who said, it's kind of like a CD, isn't it? It's like you just get money every month but it's more than a CD. And we said, yeah, it is. So we have 8 investors, well over $600,000 in investment money that we're putting to work. And it's been interesting because everyone has a different need and a different story. And so we're able to take the information we have and make it work for them. And that's been really exciting and really rewarding.
And we have cash. We have people using their self-directed IRAs. We're managing a portfolio for people. So we've in the year we've already gotten 3 different models that we're using, and I think we're doing this in a way that helps people earn really good money and gives them opportunity that they get passive and they're just investing. They don't view it as they view it truly honestly. They view it like a CD. They don't view it like a risk. They don't view it like there's anything that they have to do. They're just loving getting the money. And every time a new CD comes due, this is the part we like, is that they're contacting us and saying, hey, I have another 25,000, 40,000, whatever that I want to invest.
If they ever invest, they never stop, do they?
They don't seem to yet. We're only a year into it. So
no, I mean, they may run out of money, but they don't run out of friends or relationships that they tell the story to. And that's what we've seen the story kind of, really go out all over. And I wanted to talk a little bit about these passive investors. I know. So our audience are typically people that are self-directed retirement type investors, or they're active real estate investors. Some do a few houses a year, some do hundreds of houses a year, 1,000, for 1 or 2 of them. So they're small operators to big operators in real estate investing space. And then all of a sudden you look at it, and so people ask about these passive investors. And I just wanted to ask you, what does their life look like? Like, like they are aware they can do things to earn a little higher return, but it's a lot bigger toll to earn that return, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the returns for them, first reaction we get is shock that they get as good a returns as we do. And then I think the second thing is they're not used to actually receiving the money monthly.
Right.
And that's been a big, because they're like, oh, so it's like a CD. I'll get this money in interest 5 years from now. We're like, no, you'll get it every month. And then you can choose what to do. And then the other thing I think, Eddie, you've taught us is once they have that kind of money building back up. So theoretically, if we say somebody's getting $1,000 a month, well, in another 18 months, they'll have a chunk of money. We can reinvest that. So their money's and interest is making money and interest. So we're sort of helping them build on that. And that's been the surprise too, is that they get to see it every month. We've actually had 2 people contact us and say, this is just great. We just want to do more.
Mm-hmm.
There's realized return and there's unrealized return, right? People that have invested in something that have gone up is great as long as it doesn't go down, because they haven't actually realized the return yet.
Right.
When you buy a note, you realize the return every month because you're getting a check.
Exactly.
I love that phrasing. We'll have to use that, Lois. Realize and unrealize.
You know, that's like the story that Ben Hott, that's on the NoteSchool team with us. He says, you know, he had some dentists that were landlords, and you know, invested mutual funds, and so he said after they started buying notes, they would call him and say, "How are our notes doing?" Ben would say, "Well, you know, the payment came in the first of this month, and the payment will come in the first of next month." Right? Because they were looking at that volatility, right? It's like, no.
Right.
All right, ladies, we're having too much fun.
Yeah.
Because I look at the clock and I'm like, oh my gosh. But look, you guys are gonna hang around with us in the after party a little bit. So if you guys have any questions, then do that. We'll let Brian come in and close us up, and then we'll get into a little more of a granular stuff in the after party. If anybody's interested, obviously we'll monitor the board and be able to answer your questions. So Brian. Oh, and by the way, tell them where you bought all your assets.
On Notes Direct.
Oh, that happens to be our sponsor.
Now a word from our sponsor.
What a good
minute.